Okay, we are going to get started. Hello, my friends. Welcome. Thank you so much for joining today. Who do we have here? So, would you be so kind as to put where you're from in the chat? Where do you live? I always like to say there's such a big difference between where you're from and where you live. For instance, I am from New York, Queens, to be exact, and I currently live in Seattle, Washington. Just goes to show you can take the girl out of New York, but can't take the New York out of the girl. And yes, I have worked hard to remove my New York accent, but here and there I might slip into, some coffee talk and stuff. You know what I'm saying? All right. I see we have actually, yeah, Washington. We're in Washington. Okay. Seattle as well. Yeah. Oh, we have Connecticut. Okay. I have some family members in Connecticut. Yeah. So as people start to put where they're from in the chat, I'm going to start talking about what we're doing here today. So we are going to talk all about how to shift away from dieting and the dieting mindset to something called a non-diet approach. And we want to do this so that you can live an incredibly healthy life and start focusing on the things that you actually enjoy. I just want to say before we begin, I feel so revved by this topic right now. And honestly, that's why my company is named Rev Health, because I want you to feel really excited to take care of your health. And there are so many ways to take care of your health that doesn't put the scale and your weight and dieting at center stage. And that is exactly what we're going to focus on today in this free training. We are going to talk all about how you can shift your mindset, shift your life using a non diet approach that I know will impact everything from how you feel, think, and behave day after day. So, I know you're here because you want to have a solid game plan that helps you go from just surviving this particular season to thriving, right? Not just during this month, but throughout the entire year. And well beyond that, too. And I also have a feeling that you don't want to get on and off your diet only to find yourself panicking after the new year is over to get yourself back on track, or after the weekend is over to say, I'll start on Monday, right? Anyone ever feel that way? I'll start again after the new year. I'll start again next month. I'll start again on Monday. Feel free to put a yes in the comments if that feels like you or if it feels like somebody that you know. You're also here because you're sick and tired of feeling like food is controlling you, right? Ever feel like food is the boss of you? You're minding your own business in the kitchen, and then suddenly, somehow, you're able to actually hear the voice of those Oreos calling your name from the pantry. Hey, Marissa, I'm on the third shelf in the back. You know where to find me, right? I've been there, okay? And the force is strong, as Yoda would say. You know where every last treat is hiding in your house, even if you hid it on the top shelf. I know you thought that if you put it out of sight, out of mind, that would solve the problem. Yep, I've been there too. If this is resonating with you, you can put a yes in the chat or an oh yes if this is really resonating with you. Maybe you're also here because while you might have weight goals that are on your mind, maybe you also want to explore other ways, right, that you can measure your health without the scale indicating whether or not you're successful, right? So how many times do you use the scale as the only predictor of your success? I know a lot of my clients used to do that. Also, what might it be like to focus on your health goals without needing to track all of those calories and the points and the macros and the grams and all of that, right? You've done that and it hasn't worked for you. Anyone ever feel this way? I know. I know. It's so hard to feel convinced that there actually are other methods of getting healthier beyond the scale and beyond tracking your food. And lastly, maybe you want to feel a little stronger this year when overeating happens, right? Emotional eating, stress eating, or if you're binge eating, maybe you want to have some more tools to help you navigate all of this. I have got you today. because I want you to walk away feeling like you have some new superpowers. And even if you don't follow superhero subculture, just know that today is going to arm you in an iron cloak, or maybe it's a Harry Potter invisible cloak. All I know is that even Marvel and DC Comics would be impressed by your superpower after this training today. So, a little intro about me if you don't know who I am. I am actually a superhero. I am the Flash. I've always got something urgent and fast paced going on in my universe, my multiverse. I believe that definitely comes from being a former sprinter and a gymnast. Um, but in all seriousness, if you don't know me and why I love leading sessions like this, I'm Marissa and I love food and I love being a dietitian. I've been a dietitian since 2009. And my ultimate why, my purpose, is really to help people feel nourished and revved about their health. You can read more about my background here if you're interested. I've been at this game, as I said, since 2009 in the corporate health and wellness space at startups and places you might have heard about, like Nintendo. I've had leadership roles such as the Washington State President of the Academy of Nutrition and Dietetics, and I am the founder of this growing private practice, which, as you know, is called Rev Health. So just like the Flash feels that burst of energy on every mission, I want you to feel that same level of energy and excitement in your journey as you embark on a healthier and really happier life. But that's going to be a choice that only you get to make. So remember the Matrix, this scene where Morpheus offers Neo a choice between two pills, the red pill or the blue pill. And just to jog your memory, which by the way, this was a fantastic film back in 1999. So in the movie, The Matrix, Morpheus offers Neo two pills, right? The blue pill allows Neo to wake up and believe whatever he wants, while the red pill reveals the truth and shows Neo the depth of the situation. And Morpheus says, all I'm offering is the truth, nothing more. And as you know, hopefully I'm not spoiling this movie for you, but Neo takes the red pill. And not surprisingly, because Neo's a badass and he wakes up in the real world. And I really like to think about nutrition and dieting using this analogy because the red and blue pills, they really do symbolize a choice. So we can either take the red pill and face the truth, or we could take the blue pill and keep up this idea where ignorance is bliss. Remember what Cypher said, ignorance is bliss. And, spoiler alert, by being here right now, you are already leaning toward taking that red pill. So I guess the real question really is, are you going to be brave enough to lift this veil of empty promises that the dieting industry continues to feed you? Or are you going to become the version of yourself, right? The healthier version that really addresses the truth and the scientific evidence. So what do I mean by this? Let's get into it. If you choose to take the blue pill, you stay stuck. You stay stuck in the dieting cycle that offers only temporary success, but keeps fueling the need to control your body. That's what the dieting industry wants you to do. It might start off with pressure or dissatisfaction with your body. And this leads to that desire for control, right? The belief that you must lose weight and it will fix everything. It will fix your health. It will fix your relationships. It will fix your confidence. It's powerful, which is why it's really easy to take the blue pill because you're under a false belief that controlling your body will solve the problem. So, what do? When you are under this premise, right, that controlling your body will solve the problem, then you choose a new diet, believing that this time it's going to work. This time will be different, right? Who's ever said that? Say, could drop, yep, that's me in the chat. This time will be different. And by the way, I just want to make sure that you understand, I'm not talking about a dietary pattern of eating like the Mediterranean or DASH diets. Those are patterns of eating. What I'm talking about here are restrictive diets, restrictive meal plans fad diets that cut out entire food groups, demonize certain macronutrients like fat and carbohydrate, and fearmonger, right, about following these strict rules to get quick results. So things like Weight Watchers and Jenny Craig and Atkins, keto, paleo, Optavia, Noom, the carnivore diet, intermittent fasting, juicing, right? There are probably a lot more that I'm missing. So feel free to drop the others in the chat. Point is, these are all highly restrictive diets that do not work or solve the problems that you really want to solve. All right. So initially, though, when you start any of these diets, what do you see? You do see some initial success, rapid weight loss or positive changes. They might happen. So you feel like you're in control again, that this reinforces the belief that you've chosen the right direction, that you've found the right diet, and now all you got to do is stick with the plan. Stick with the plan, right? Well, you know what ends up happening though, don't you? Yep, you know. You can't stick to the plan because it's not realistic, because it just doesn't work long term. But instead of blaming the plan, you blame yourself, right? Over time, this restriction brings you a sense of deprivation, a lot of fatigue, cravings, right? Your body and mind begin to rebel. And maybe you've, I don't know, closed the kitchen at 7 p.m. for the third week in a row, and suddenly you just can't take it anymore. And you get out that step stool and go to that third shelf where your secret stash of Oreos are hidden at the top of the pantry. And it's a relief when you find those Oreos and you can't seem to stop eating them. Call it what you want: emotional eating, binge eating, or finally getting the calories that you actually needed from all of the restriction. And you know what that leads to, don't you? You know what that leads to. It leads to guilt with a side of failure. When you break the rules of a diet, you think it's because of your lack of discipline, your lack of willpower. You ask questions like, how did I let this happen again? I should have been able to follow the rules better. I should have been able to do better. Shoulda, woulda, coulda. How many of you have felt guilt because you gave up, right? And just chalked it up to not having enough willpower, discipline? Feel free to share that here in the chat. So what do? You muster the strength again that this time, right? This time you will have more discipline and more willpower to control your body, because that was just a relapse, right? And the way to get back on track is to control your body, a body that is out of control, a body that needs stricter rules and regulations. And the cycle, unfortunately, begins all over again. So what's the problem here? Do you see how much larger this problem is than you? I can save you hundreds of dollars, if not more, in therapy, probably a lot more than that, and tell you that if you choose to take the blue pill, your self-worth will continue to be tied to the number on the scale and controlling your body. And that's a miserable, miserable existence. How good or bad you've eaten, whether or not you can stick to the plan, determines, how good you are, how much willpower you believe you have, and how others perceive you, compliment you, whether you went up and down in clothing size, right? You will continue to compare yourself to others. And most importantly, you will continue to seek validation of your health and your body by the external world, not by actual markers of health that make a difference. Okay. So the good news is that we have a choice. We do not have to take the blue pill. And yes, this is not easy to do with all of the conflicting messages that you're absorbing on social media, right? And on the news and from your friends and your family. But if you want to feel healthier, okay, if you want to feel more confident, if you want to have better health, feel more self-trusting, more at peace, and feel a greater sense of self-worth, then I recommend that we make the shift, and that we make the shift away from this dieting cycle. So now that you know what we're trying to shift away from, what are we trying to shift toward, right? What is the red pill going to give to you? So the red pill is going to help you make the non-diet shift. And in the slides that follow today, I am going to teach you why and how this is going to help you, especially since the dieting and wellness influencers are not going away. The industry is not going anywhere. They're going to continue to try to convince you to take all of their shiny new blue pills. So we have to protect ourselves against this. And after this training, you will have already started to shift gears. I promise you that. So at that point, you will start to become, pretty skeptical of all that nonsense when it's thrown in your face. So how will you get to that particular point, right? How will you get there? The non-diet shift helps you learn to trust your body again. It helps you get out of that cycle of feast or famine, right? This is my tried and true antidote to the dieting cycle. The non-diet shift is probably at this point the result of my entire career, my years of clinical work, a career in corporate wellness, and my training as a registered dietitian nutritionist. And now, as I become a board certified eating disorder specialist, this is what I use to help people get healthier and recover and become stronger, really, both in their mind and their body. So I've seen the perils of dieting. I've experienced it myself, and I understand the lure of it and how hard it is to stop it. Okay. So I've created this shift to incorporate the evidence-based frameworks and the scientific research that can help you learn to trust your body again. My approach has helped countless clients break free from the cycle of guilt and shame that's tied to dieting. It's also allowed them to get healthier, feel more self-assured, and capable with food and their life. And that, my friends, right, is the real reason why you're here today. You want to feel capable. And I know that you are capable. This shift will empower you to feel that capability both inside and outside of yourself so that you no longer feel the need to control your body in order to make it healthy. Your body doesn't need to be controlled. It needs to be trusted. Let that sink in for a second. So now I'm going to walk you through each pillar of the non-diet shift. The acronym SHIFT stands for self-care, health-focused, informed nutrition, flexible eating, and tolerating stress. I designed this acronym specifically as a mnemonic device to make it easier for you to remember because it's going to replace the dieting cycle. So every time you feel re-triggered by the dieting cycle, feel like you want to control your body, feel like you should get back on a plan, you can use the non-diet shift as a response to all of that. So each pillar blends into the next part of the cycle. And as we go through the pillars together today, you will see that there is an obvious overlap happening between each of the pillars because they are very much interconnected. So let me show you how all of this works so that you can start using it today, this month, this year, and well beyond that. All right. So the non-diet shift starts with self-care. Okay. And it's not the kind of self-care that's short term, like a bubble bath or a new planner. Although, yes, those things are very nice and they can be helpful. I'm talking more about an internal self-care practice. All right. And what do I mean by this? So let's just say you had a really stressful day. You're aggravated, completely dysregulated, right? Tired, the kids, if you have kids and your family need you, you feel totally drained. Yet somehow you crawl through the night and get everyone what they need, except that you are still what we would call in a fight or flight mode. So what do? Well, you want to eat the whole sleeve of Oreos. You know exactly where those are hidden, third shelf in the pantry. But actual self care is knowing in these moments what is best for you to do instead. And by the way, it could be that you do go for the Oreos. That could be the self care that you need in that moment. Self care is the internal acknowledgement, the complete understanding of where you are in that very moment and the ability to cope with what you actually need. So maybe you do need exercise, right? But not if exercise is going to be a form of self sabotage. Maybe you do need to do some deep breathing, but not if deep breathing causes you more panic and isn't the right tool for you in that given moment. All right. Do you see why we can't just label exercise and breathing as self care? and eating Oreos as shameful. What I'm challenging you to do here is to recognize what actually makes you feel more grounded and fulfilled internally versus being dismissive of your true inner needs in any given moment. So, what this requires of you is taking an actual pause. Okay. And I have named this the sacred pause. A lot of my clients know, did we take a sacred pause? You're shaking your heads. Yes. I could see if, let's say that's you and you work with me. And yes, you can also see I absolutely love acronyms because I think they help you in really hard moments. So, what will you do in this pause? Right? How do you know if your self-care practices are working for you when they're or, if they are just becoming another form of control or stress? So what I'm sharing here with the sacred pause is just one form of the inside work I like to use with my clients. And inside of my non-diet shift program, we get even deeper with specific questions that help you dig into solutions that align with your values, okay, and bring you closer to the person that you really, really want to be day in and day out. In my non-diet shift program, we literally go through a personalized self-care roadmap together, helping you find practices that are tailored to your needs and your values and your life goals. The solutions that you do come up with from all of that inner self-care work that you do will create your unique health focused behaviors. Now, what happens when we only create behaviors that are based solely on weight goals? Well, okay, so what happens is that you focus specifically on the amount of calories that you could only eat. You might focus on foods that you can't eat, and you may put yourself right on an exercise program that it might not be right for you. And when we think about health goals, we're able to go beneath the surface of your weight desires to see what kind of goals we can really zoom in on. All right. So, because weight alone cannot predict how healthy an individual actually is. We know this to be true because there are plenty of people at their dream weights who still have an increased risk of disease and who still deal with weight stigma, which impacts mental health, and who still rely on restrictive diets to stay at that weight, and who are not physically fit and who are at greater risk for osteopenia and osteoporosis, right? We're talking about people who have literally met a weight goal. They still might have a greater risk for developing an eating disorder, who don't feel confident, who don't sleep well, who still feel chronic pain and still binge and restrict, right? Have abnormal lab value, who don't have a good quality of life, right? And the list goes on. So you see my point. Getting to a certain weight, all right, it doesn't automatically improve your health. It's kind of like getting to a certain financial bracket. It doesn't tell the whole story, right? It's not to say you cannot have financial or weight goals. Those can be absolutely directional goalposts. But for most people, when you have weight goals, the way you achieve those are very different than, let's say, having a sleep goal or having a fitness goal or having the goal of enjoying what you eat again or stopping the binge restrict cycle. Instead of a goal being, I want to lose X amount of pounds, right? When you shift to a health focused goal, decreasing alcohol consumption because you feel better in the morning, drinking more water throughout the day to stay hydrated, getting 8 hours of sleep per night to help your body and mind rest, right? Especially when those health focused goals connect back to your self care values. This stuff really sticks better for the long haul then. All right. So while weight may change as a byproduct of some of these health focused behaviors, the main goal isn't just weight loss. All right. It's to shift toward building healthier habits to make a positive impact right on your health for the long term. I want you to be introduced to my client, Sam, for example. So I'll move myself out of the way a little bit. So Sam came to me wanting to lose weight very quickly. She wanted 15 to 20 pounds as soon as possible. But as we shifted the focus toward health and well-being and other factors that were important to her, her journey really did take a different. So with a health focused approach, Sam improved her cholesterol, She felt less fatigued. She reduced her alcohol intake and even got strong results from her DEXA scan showing healthier bones. Instead of following restrictive diets like her friends, Sam now enjoys balanced, satisfying meals that nourish her body. She's no longer obsessively stepping on the scale. And instead, she feels confident that her health speaks for itself, as you could see here with her blood work. So, when I guess what started as a goal to hit a specific number on the scale, this really morphed into more of a lifestyle that she wanted and a feeling that she was after, right? Confident, capability, calm. And I am so proud of her. And I know she feels proud of herself too. Here she is on this fishing boat, which is her joy in life. And she has this lovely testimonial, which she's given permission to share. Okay, so there's a lot of research out now, thankfully, that outlines several issues with the weight centric approach, which includes that weight is not a reliable indicator of health and that many health outcomes can't always be directly linked to body weight. The evidence also suggests that promoting weight loss and dieting can lead to harmful outcomes such as weight cycling, disordered eating, and also increased risk of developing an eating disorder. And if you want to read more, I have referenced all of these studies here on this slide. And there are so many more because we are seeing that the practical recommendations for dietitians and healthcare providers is to adopt what we call a weight inclusive approach where we prioritize a patient's behaviors and emotional well-being and overall health rather than focusing solely on body size as the answer, because body size is visible. This is pretty compelling research that we're seeing, and it supports the idea that we have to rethink how we address body weight and move toward a more compassionate care model that doesn't put patients at risk of the physical and mental harms caused by dieting and weight. I've worked with a ton of different populations over the years. And the bottom line is that whether someone needs help recovering from an eating disorder or is seeking support as they learn to live with diabetes, the research supports moving away from weight-centric approaches in healthcare. So, in other words, when you do not have any other leading health indicators than weight to measure your success, you are set up to fail, okay? Your weight is not inextricably linked to your health. You can still have incredibly high fitness levels, beauty, sexiness, normal blood work, sense of self, and have a non-diet approach with your food and lifestyle. This is not an either or. When you focus on healthier behavior, right, it might result in changes in weight. It also might not, because every body responds differently and needs different things. So I'll be honest with you. I am not here to demonize the losing of weight itself. Losing weight can absolutely help many individuals. But I'm telling you that when weight becomes the dominant focus, all right, and when weight alone heavily influenced by the idea that it equates to health at any cost, then we've lost the plot, friends, okay? We've lost the plot when that happens. We have to follow the evidence. And when we've decided on the health focused behaviors that align with our value, now we want an evidence based process that can help us achieve these behaviors. Okay. We need to stay informed, whether it is informed research about exercise, medications, skincare, supplements, nutrition. And we have to commit to following the truth, following the evidence. So, what is informed nutrition? Well, I can tell you what it's not. It's not following a diet because an influencer or a friend lost weight and it worked for them. That's called anecdotal evidence, and we cannot say that their approach is healthy or even safe for that matter. It's also not removing toxic ingredients because charlatans on social media told you to, especially people who have literally no credentials to offer these recommendations. You wouldn't take legal advice from anyone, right? So why are we accepting widespread misinformation, or worse, disinformation? Disinformation is the intention to share misinformation from people whose only purpose in sharing this is to fearmonger with ingredient warnings in grocery stores to get more likes, to sell their own products and diets. So what does the research say? Well, let me tell you. I created this pyramid as a starting point. So let's go through it. Most people approach nutrition like a backwards funnel. They start at the top of this pyramid. They focus on nutrient goals. And usually they think that if they just, cut their sugar or whatever, focus on some sort of anything, honestly, that they'll start seeing that they'll start seeing success. Instead, we want you to start at the base, right? Most people approach nutrition like a backwards funnel. They start at the top of this pyramid, right? The top over there. Okay. Most people approach nutrition like a backwards funnel. They start at the top of this pyramid. They focus on nutrient goals. And usually they think that if they just cut out sugar or artificial food dyes or that they'll start seeing success. Instead, we want you to start at the base. Okay. The foundation of nutrition is actually meeting your energy needs, which are your caloric needs. You do not need to go calculating all of this in an app. You can do this by listening to your internal hunger and fullness cues if those are available to you. Now, I know what you're going to say, Marissa. I know that I just can't access my internal cues for a variety of reasons. And yes, I know that that exists. And that's why it's even worse if we are relying on external apps and devices to tell us how much to eat as we go through our day. Tracking calories might be helpful. It has been helpful for some folks, but I actually generally seem to see that benefit the utilization of a tracker with a client who is already at the top of this funnel, who or does not has more of a nutrition knowledge deficit on various elements of their diet. Because if they don't have a healthy relationship with food in their body, then using a tracker is not going to be helpful. And you're here because you want to improve your relationship with food in your body. Diets haven't worked. When you have a healthier relationship with food in your body, and maybe you're trying to hit some nutrient goals like fiber, maybe a tracker could be helpful, but it's not necessarily something you need in order to focus on nutrient goals. Okay. My point is, it doesn't start at the top of this funnel. It starts with meeting energy needs at the base. And you do this by listening to your internal cues, which also tell you whether or not you're enjoying what you eat, right? If you're enjoying what you eat, you're probably selecting foods that you prefer to eat, which allows you to have regular meals and snacks because you look forward to eating those foods and you're no longer intentionally skipping because you value eating those foods and they make you feel better. And they become part of what we call your dietary pattern of eating. The overall dietary pattern, as shown by the up and down arrow alongside this pyramid, is a much more accurate predictor of health outcomes than focusing on specific ingredients and food. Okay, so as you build a balanced dietary pattern by meeting your energy needs, enjoying your food, sticking to regular meals and snacks, and getting your nutrition information from credible sources, as shown by the left arrow on this pyramid, you'll notice how each step strengthens the next. Moving up the pyramid, okay, so moving up, you will see that you can start to expand your variety, trying new foods and flavors, which not only boosts nutrition, but also enhances further enjoyment and satisfaction of the foods that you consume. And then finally, once these foundations are in place, then we can look at specific nutrient goals, which really are unique to each and every person. For example, are you including enough nutrient dense foods? Are you minimizing added sugar, right? Are you reducing sodium and so forth? So this personalized approach allows you to meet your unique health needs while also maintaining an enjoyable, balanced dietary pattern of eating. And this is a dietary pattern. It isn't supposed to be perfect, which is why it blends nicely into my next pillar, flexible eating. A flexible eating plan lets you choose what works best for you. And that is actually the beauty of the non-diet approach. It's really not a one size fits all. So instead of forcing yourself to fit into some rigid plan that doesn't work for your life, you get to adjust the framework to fit your life and what really ends up supporting you best. So flexible eating, it really is a way to enjoy foods every single day while respecting your body's needs. And here's how you can start to embrace it. So, number one, begin with the mindset that all foods fit. All right. All foods can fit into a healthy diet. Give yourself permission to enjoy all kinds of foods without labeling them as good or bad. Flexible eating is really about that balance and not restriction. Number two, listen to your body's cues, right? Pay attention to your hunger and fullness cues and pleasure cues. What do you actually like to eat, right? Ask yourself, am I still enjoying it? Or am I starting to feel full? Listening to cues helps you get immense pleasure from the eating experience because it's not really that pleasurable to eat in a way that feels out of control, right? So listening to those cues, being more mindful. And we go into great depth into this in my non-diet shift program. Number three, enjoy the moment, right? Focus on the actual experience itself, not just the food, right? How does it feel to eat in any given environment, whether it's at home or work or at a party? How can we make it even more pleasant for ourselves? Number four is to release the food guilt. I know this is easier said than done, which is why I have a whole section devoted to this in the non-diet shift program. Remind yourself that desserts and treats aren't cheating or failing. Okay. Eating is a natural part of life, and celebration and culture are as well. And one meal doesn't define your health. Flexible eating lets you enjoy occasions as part of, a sustainable, nourishing life. Number five, set your own intentions, right? Instead of relying on food rules, focus on how you want to feel. Do you want more energy? Do you want more enjoyment? Do you want more connection with others? So let these intentions guide your food choices, and this will help you feel really more in control and at ease. When you practice flexible eating, right, it can sometimes overlap with managing. Many of my clients cope with stress and emotions by using food like a drug, which often makes them feel like they need stricter food rules to regain control. But it's actually in these times that soothing with food, right, used flexibly and mindfully, can also be a helpful tool. Yep, you heard that right. I'm a dietitian and I'm telling you that emotional eating can be okay. I'm giving you permission to use food as a way to soothe yourself when needed. The real issue isn't emotional eating itself, okay? It's when emotional eating becomes the only way that you end up coping with difficult feeling. To illustrate this, I want to talk about the window of tolerance. This is a concept coined by Dr. Dan Siegel. The window of tolerance is a term that is used to describe the range of emotional and nervous system states where a person can function at their very best. So feeling present, calm, and able to handle life's challenges without feeling overwhelmed or completely shut down.